The email hit my inbox at 8:11 a.m., while my coffee was still dripping. Subject line: Storage auction sold Unit B17. For a second, I honestly thought it was spam. One of those scams that starts with panic and ends with your credit card crying. Then I saw the sender, the storage vendor our building uses. My fingers went cold as I opened it. "Your unit has been sold at auction." The rest blurred because my family photos were in there. No, not the nice framed ones in my living room, the real ones, the ones in shoe boxes, my dad in uniform, my mom's handwriting on the back. The only picture I have of my grandmother laughing, mid-sentence, like she didn't know a camera existed. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I did something boring. I opened my banking app, because the first thing I needed to know was, am I crazy or am I current? There it was. Storage fee. Paid. This month. Posted. Cleared. Normal. And I stared at it until my eyes hurt. Then I grabbed my keys and drove to my condo building like the steering wheel could keep me from falling apart. In the garage, my hands shook so badly I fumbled the key fob twice. The elevator felt slow on purpose. When I got downstairs to the storage hallway, the air smelled like concrete and old cardboard. I walked straight to my locker and stopped so fast my shoes squeaked. A bright red tag hung from the latch. Overlocked. Lion sale. Do not cut. See, my unit, my paid unit, had been treated like a delinquent stranger. I stood there for a beat, staring at that tag like it was a slap. Then I turned and walked upstairs to the management office. No drama, no scene, just a straight line. The property manager, Nadia Vega, looked up from her computer when I pushed the door open. She was the kind of manager who actually remembers people. Not because she's nosy, because she's organized. "Jillian," she said, immediately clocking my face. "Now what's wrong?" I slid my phone across her desk, the email open. Her eyes moved over the screen, once, twice. Then her expression changed. Not surprise, concern. "That shouldn't happen if you're current," she said. "I am current," I replied, and pulled up my payment receipt. "This month, paid." Nadia took my phone, checked the receipt, then leaned back slightly like she was doing mental math. "Okay," she said slowly. Then something else triggered the file. "What file?" I asked. Nadia didn't answer yet. She turned to her monitor and typed quickly, then clicked into my resident account. "You have a condo here and a storage license tied to your unit," she said, eyes scanning. "If anything is flagged as abandoned, we're required to follow a protocol." Abandoned. My chest tightened. "My condo isn't abandoned," I said. "I live here." Nadia's fingers stopped. Then she clicked into a tab labeled Building File, Status, and her mouth went slightly open. "Ah, Jillian," she said quietly. "Your unit is marked as abandoned property." I stared at her. "What?" Nadia turned the screen toward me. The words were right there, black on white. Status, abandoned contact, emergency, Sloan Harper. Notes, owner non-responsive, storage contents to be disposed per policy. My throat went dry. "Sloan?" I whispered. "That's my sister." Nadia looked at me like she wished she could unsee it. "She's listed as your emergency contact," Nadia said carefully. "And there's an entry here stating the owner was gone and the property needed to be secured." "Gone how?" I asked. Nadia's eyes flicked down, then back up. "Like you were not coming back," she said. I felt heat rush into my face. "I was paying," I said again, louder this time. "I'm paying right now." Nadia nodded, fast, then started clicking through the audit history. "Okay," she said, "hold on. If this was marked abandoned, there should be notices. There should be delivery logs." "And there should be—" Her voice cut off. She stopped clicking. I could hear her keyboard go dead quiet. "What?" I asked. Nadia stared at the screen for a long beat, then said something that made my stomach turn. The contact email on your resident file was changed last month. To what? I asked. Nadia swallowed. Then she turned the monitor toward me and pointed. Primary email, Sloan.Harper at... My sister had rerouted my building communication to herself. Nadia's face tightened with anger, real professional anger. That means the abandonment notices didn't go to you, she said. They went to her. I felt my pulse in my throat. So she told you I was abandoned, I said, and she made sure I wouldn't see the notices. Nadia didn't sugarcoat it. Yes, she said, and if she did that, she used the resident portal. She clicked again. One more level down. A log popped up. Timestamps, device info, IP locations. Nadia's eyes narrowed at one line. Then she pushed her chair back and stood up slowly, like she'd reached the part where this stops being a misunderstanding and becomes a report. Jillian, she said, voice steady, don't leave. She picked up her desk phone. I'm calling our building attorney, she said, and I'm calling the storage vendor's compliance desk to freeze any release. She paused, looking me dead in the eye. Because if your sister sold your storage, like you were dead. She glanced back at the audit log. Then she didn't just steal from you. She forged her way into the building's record. Nadia didn't sit back down. She stayed standing, one hand braced on her desk, eyes locked on that audit log like it had insulted her personally. Okay, she said, more to herself than to me. We're freezing the damage first. She opened a drawer, pulled out a laminated emergency contact sheet, and dialed a number. Hi, she said when someone answered. This is Nadia Vega at Harborstone Condominiums. I need the storage vendor's compliance desk, right now. She didn't tell a life story. She didn't say, my resident is upset. She said the words that make businesses stop smiling. Possible fraud, possible unauthorized sale. Owner is present with proof of payment. While she waited, she looked at me and asked the only question that mattered. Or are you comfortable saying this out loud, she asked, that your sister did this? I swallowed. Yes. Nadia nodded once and put the call on speaker. A calm voice answered, Compliance. This is Dawn. Nadia didn't waste a syllable. Dawn, we have a unit marked abandoned in our system that appears to have triggered an auction sale email to the rightful owner this morning, Nadia said. The owner has proof of payment and proof her contact email was changed without authorization. When we need an immediate hold on any release, payout, or buyer pickup. There was a pause, keyboard clicks. Dawn's voice stayed even, but it sharpened. Give me the locker ID and the sale number, she said. Nadia read both off, more typing. Then Dawn said, I see it. My heart thumped. Can you freeze it? Nadia asked. Yes, Dawn replied. I'm placing a compliance hold. No payout, no pickup, no disposal. Everything stays sealed until we verify ownership and notice history. I exhaled for the first time in what felt like hours. Nadia didn't let go yet. I also need the consignor or authorization document you relied on, she said, and the delivery method for the notices. Dawn didn't argue. We'll export the file, she said. Authorization form, timestamps, and the notice log. I'll email it to you and to your building council if you have one. Nadia didn't even blink. We do, she said. And he's about to join this call. She pressed another button, merged the line, and within seconds a third voice joined, measured, older, practiced. This is Caleb Morrison, the voice said, building council. Nadia gave him the fastest summary I've ever heard anyone deliver without losing clarity. Caleb didn't gasp. He didn't get dramatic. He asked Dawn one clean question. Dawn, he said, has the buyer taken possession? Dawn paused, typing again. Not yet, she said. The buyer paid online, but pickup is scheduled for this afternoon. Caleb's tone stayed calm. Then we're stopping pickup, he said. And we're preserving the chain. Please mark the file as disputed ownership and fraud concern. "It's done," Dawn replied. Nadia turned to me, eyes steady. "You heard that?" she said. "Nothing leaves today." I nodded, throat tight. Then she clicked back to the building portal and started pulling the paper trail like she'd done it 100 times. "Now," she said, "we prove how your sister did it." She opened the audit history for my resident profile, a list populated, timestamps, actions, and the user that made them. One line stood out like a bruise. Primary email updated. User S. Harper. Date. Last month. Another line, worse. Status changed. Abandoned. User S. Harper. Date. 2 weeks ago, and then the one that made my skin go cold. Document uploaded. Abandonment declaration. User S. Harper. Date. 2 weeks ago, Nadia clicked the uploaded document. A PDF opened. At the top, abandoned property declaration. Halfway down, it claimed I hadn't been seen, hadn't responded, and left the property behind. At the bottom was an electronic signature line. My name. My signature. It looked like a copy. Not perfect, but close enough to fool a screen. I stared at it, feeling that same sick sensation again. Someone wearing your name like a jacket. Caleb spoke into the speakerphone, voice steady. "That declaration is not from the owner," he said. "It's fabricated." Dawn's voice came through, clipped now. "And our file shows the authorization came from the building contact listed as the owner's primary email," she said, "which was your sister's email." Nadia didn't look surprised. She looked angry, which means, she said, jaw tight, she rerouted the notices to herself, signed a fake declaration, and used it to trigger the sale. I sat back in the chair like my body needed a second to catch up. Caleb didn't let the moment drift. "Nadia," he said, "do we have a record of where that portal change was made? IP, device, kiosk?" Nadia clicked again. A small panel opened with device info. Her finger hovered over a line. Then she went quiet. Not dramatic quiet. The kind of quiet that happens when you find the exact nail you needed. She turned the screen toward me. Access source, lobby kiosk. 6:42 p.m., the lobby kiosk. Meaning someone didn't hack me from across the country. Someone walked into my building, sat at the lobby terminal, and changed my identity inside our system. Nadia stood up. "I'm pulling camera footage," she said. Caleb's voice stayed flat, all business. "And we're sending a preservation notice," he added, "to the building's cameras, to the vendor, and to your sister, through counsel." Dawn chimed in again. "Do one more thing," she said. "Because there's a compliance hold, the buyer will be notified not to show up. But your sister might." I swallowed. Why? Dawn's answer was simple. "Because people like that don't just steal," she said. "They come back to make sure the money clears." Nadia checked something on her calendar. Her eyes narrowed. Then she looked at me. "Guess what?" she said. "What?" I asked. She pointed to a line item. "Buyer pickup window starts at noon," she said. "Though, and the file shows the authorized contact, your sister, requested to be present for pickup." My stomach dropped. Nadia's voice stayed steady, but her eyes were hard now. "She's coming here today," she said. Caleb's voice on speaker didn't rise. "Good," he said. "Then we don't chase her. We document her." Nadia reached into a drawer and pulled out a printed form. "Here's what we do next," she said, sliding it to me. "We correct your file right now. New email, new phone, lock the portal, and then we remove her as emergency contact." She paused, then added the line that made me feel like someone finally had my back. "And when she shows up, she doesn't get to smile and say, 'It's done.' She gets a paper trail." My phone buzzed. A text from my sister, Sloane. "It's done. It's legal now." I stared at it for 2 seconds. Then I did exactly what Caleb and Nadia wanted me to do. I saved it. And Nadia, already moving toward the security office, said, "Let's pull the footage." Because if she really used the lobby kiosk, Then the camera was about to show the moment she decided to treat my life like abandoned property. Nadia didn't take me to a conference room. She took me to the security office. It was a small, windowless space that smelled like coffee and printer toner, with a wall of monitors showing quiet hallways and boring elevators. The kind of place you forget exists until your life turns into a case file. Security, Marcus Holt, looked up when Nadia walked in. Big guy, calm face, the kind of calm that says he's seen every kind of, it's just a misunderstanding. Nadia didn't waste time. "Marcus, I need lobby footage from last month," she said. 6:42 p.m., the kiosk. Marcus didn't ask why. He just swiveled to his keyboard. "Give me the date," he said. Nadia gave it. He pulled it up. Fast forward. A few clicks. The screen showed the lobby in wide angle. Mailboxes, front desk. Showed the kiosk against the wall. And then, there she was. My sister. Sloane. Hair pulled back, coat open, walking like she had a right to be everywhere. I felt my stomach drop, but Marcus didn't even blink. He just zoomed in. "That her?" he asked, not looking away from the screen. "That's her," Nadia said. Marcus rewound 10 seconds. Played it again. That's when something else clicked into focus. Sloane wasn't alone. She was standing with someone in a building polo, one of our evening staff, leaning in close, pointing at the kiosk screen like he was showing her exactly where to click. Nadia went still. "Who is that?" she asked, voice tight. Marcus tapped a key and froze the frame right as the guy turned toward the camera. He zoomed. "Liam," Marcus said flat. "Temp coverage, front desk, started 3 weeks ago." Nadia's jaw tightened so hard I thought her teeth might crack. Sloane sat at the kiosk. Now Liam hovered. Sloane typed. Liam pointed. Sloane clicked. Then, this part made my skin crawl. Liam stepped to the side and blocked the kiosk for a moment, like he didn't want anyone walking by to see. Marcus hit another button and pulled the kiosk log overlay. A little panel popped up with the timestamp and session ID. "Got it," he said. "I'll export this and preserve it." Nadia didn't even look at me. She was looking at the screen like she wanted to crawl through it. "Yeah, she didn't guess my portal login," I said quietly. Nadia shook her head. "No, she used an inside hand." Marcus printed a still image, grainy but clear enough. Sloane at the kiosk. Liam beside her. Timestamp in the corner. He stamped it with a security time marker and slid it to Nadia. Nadia stared at it for 1 second, then turned to Marcus. "Pull Liam off shifts," she said. "Now, and lock kiosk access until IT resets it." Marcus nodded. "Already doing it." Then Nadia looked at me. "You wanted allies," she said, voice controlled. "Well, now we know hers." My phone buzzed again. Sloane. "Noon pickup. Don't make it weird." I showed Nadia without a word. She didn't smile. "Good," she said. "She's walking right into the paper trail." At 11:45 a.m., we were at the storage facility's front desk. Not a dramatic raid. No yelling, no theatrics. Just Nadia with her building badge, Caleb on speaker, and me holding my payment receipt like it was a passport. Aunt Dawn from compliance had already emailed a case number and a one-line status. Compliance hold active. No release. No payout. Nadia printed it and set it on the counter like a stop sign. The front desk clerk, young, nervous, looked at the paper, then at us. I was told there's a hold," he said. "We can't release any unit contents." "Perfect," Nadia replied. "Then we just wait." We didn't wait long. At 12:06, Sloane walked in like she owned the building. Same confident stride. Same smile. Same energy. Behind her was a man in a sport coat, mid-50s, holding a printed auction invoice like he'd bought a couch and was here to pick it up. Sloane went straight to the counter. "Hi," she said, bright. "I'm here for B17, pickup window." The clerk glanced at his screen and immediately stiffened. "I'm sorry," he said. "There's a compliance hold. We can't..." Sloane's smile stayed in place, but her eyes sharpened. "Yes, you can," she said. "It was sold. It's done." The buyer shifted uncomfortably, looking between Sloane and the clerk like he didn't sign up for drama with his purchase. Nadia stepped forward. "Hi, Sloane," she said, calm as a locked door. "Owner is present. Payment is current. This was flagged as unauthorized." Sloane turned and saw me. For 1 second, her face did something honest. Then it snapped back into performance. "Oh my God," she laughed, loud enough for the buyer to hear. "You're here? This is embarrassing." I didn't take the bait. I just held up my phone and showed the receipt. "This month," I said. "Paid." Sloane rolled her eyes like I'd shown her a library card. "I filed abandoned property," she said like she was proud. "It's legal now." The buyer frowned. "Abandoned property?" Sloane didn't even glance at him. "It's a building process," she said. "She disappeared, didn't respond. Someone had to handle it." Nadia's expression didn't change, but her voice got colder. "She didn't respond because you changed her email in the building system," Nadia said. "From our lobby kiosk. With help." Sloane's smile faltered for the first real time. "What are you talking about?" she snapped. Nadia held up the printed still, not waving it, not dramatizing, just placing it on the counter between them, timestamp visible. Sloane at the kiosk, Liam beside her. Sloane stared at it. The buyer leaned in, saw it. Warren took a half step back like the air got dirty. Sloane's eyes flashed. "That's nothing," she said quickly. He was helping me." "Helping you change another resident's contact email?" Nadia asked, calm. "And mark her unit abandoned?" Sloane's jaw tightened. Then she did what she always does when she's cornered in public. She turned on the weakest link. The clerk. "Are you going to release my property or not?" she snapped. Now the clerk swallowed and looked behind him, toward a door marked Manager. A woman stepped out. Older, composed, badge that said Operations Manager. She looked at Dawn's compliance hold printout, then at Sloane. "Ma'am," the manager said, "this file is under compliance review. Nothing is released today." Sloane laughed, sharp and mean. "You people love acting important," she said. "It's a storage unit." The manager's face didn't change. "It's an auctioned unit under dispute," she replied. "That makes it a liability." Then she turned to the buyer. "Sir," she said, "your payment will be held. You will be refunded if the sale is voided." The buyer exhaled like he'd been holding his breath. "Refunded?" he repeated. "So, this might not be legal?" Sloane snapped her head toward him. "It is legal," she hissed. The manager didn't argue. She asked one simple question. "Ma'am," she said, "what is your relationship to the owner of the unit?" Sloane lifted her chin. "Oh, I'm her sister," she said. "And do you have written authorization from the owner?" the manager asked. Sloane blinked. "I filed the paperwork," she snapped. "That's not what I asked," the manager said, still calm. "Do you have authorization from the owner?" Sloane's eyes darted to me, and for a second her confidence cracked. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. "Here," she said triumphantly. "Signed." The manager took it, glanced down, and then her eyes moved to the signature. She looked up at me. "Is that your signature?" she asked. "No," I said. "Not even close." The manager nodded once and set the folder down carefully, like it had become evidence mid-sentence. Then she did something that made Sloane's face tighten. She picked up the phone on the counter. "I'm calling our legal and documenting this as suspected identity fraud," she said. "And I'm requesting law enforcement to take a report. Because a forged signature was used to initiate an auction sale." Sloane's voice rose. "You're insane," she snapped. "She's lying." Nadia didn't raise her voice. "She isn't," she said. "And the building has footage of you changing her file." Sloane's mouth opened, closed. The buyer took another step back. "I'm out," he muttered. "Just refund me." Sloane spun on him. You can't just— Yes, I can, the buyer said, already walking away. Worse, I'm not buying somebody else's family photos. That line hit me harder than I expected, because it reminded me what this really was. Not storage contents, my life in boxes. The manager looked at Sloan and said, politely, deadly, "Ma'am, please wait here." Sloan scoffed. Or what? The manager didn't answer with a threat. She answered with action. She turned her monitor slightly, typed, then said, "For the record, compliance flagged the payout destination on this sale." Sloan's eyes narrowed. So? The manager read off the line on her screen like she was reading weather. "The payout account name doesn't match the consignor name," she said. "It's been routed to a third party." Sloan went still. Nadia's head snapped up. "Third party?" she repeated. The manager nodded once. "And the same payout destination appears on another disputed sale last year," she added. Sloan's face drained just a shade. Not guilt, fear. Because now it wasn't family. It was a pattern, again inside a business system. The manager set the folder down and looked at Sloan like she was done playing polite. "Stay," she said. "Police are on the way." Sloan's lips parted, and for the first time she didn't have the smooth line. She just stared at the counter, calculating. And Nadia leaned toward me and said quietly, "Now we're going to find out who she was really paying." The second the operations manager said, "Police are on the way," Sloan's whole face shifted. Not guilt, a quick, ugly calculation, like she was deciding whether to play sweet or bolt. She tried sweet first. "Oh, come on," she laughed, waving a hand at the counter like we were all overreacting. "This is a building policy thing. We can fix it." Nadia didn't move. "Or this stopped being policy when you changed another resident's email and marked her home abandoned," she said. Sloan's smile sharpened. "You can't prove I did anything." Marcus, security, stepped in from the side like he'd been there the whole time, calm, quiet, unavoidable. "We can," he said, and held up a small card-sized printout. "Lobby camera still. Time-stamped." Sloan's eyes flicked to it, then away fast. When the manager slid her monitor slightly toward the officer on the phone with Dawn earlier, like she was already treating this as a file, not a fight. "I need to document exactly what was submitted," she said, "because there's another problem." She clicked twice, then read the line out loud. "The person who filed the abandoned authorization also requested payout by ACH to an account not in the owner's name." Sloan's jaw tightened. "So, that's my account." The manager shook her head once. "Oh, it isn't," she said, still calm. "It's under a different name." Nadia's head snapped up. "Whose name?" The manager didn't look at me when she answered. She looked at the screen. "Liam Harper," she said. Marcus didn't blink. He just said, flat, "That's our temp front desk guy." Sloan's eyes went wide for half a second. Then she tried to cover it with anger. "Don't drag random people into this," she snapped. Nadia leaned forward slightly. "You brought him," she said. "We have you with him at the kiosk." Sloan's mouth opened, but nothing clean came out, and then her phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced down. Whatever she saw made her face tighten like a belt. The manager saw it too. "Is that the payout notification?" she asked, not accusing, just watching. Sloan lifted her chin. "None of your business." "That's funny," the manager replied, "because when money moves through our system, it becomes our business." She turned to the clerk at the counter. "Now print the compliance hold confirmation," she said, "and print the payout routing screen." 2 sheets slid from the printer. The manager stamped both. Then she placed them on the counter in front of Sloan like she was putting down cards. "Here," she said. "This is the hold. This is the payout account. And this is the note from last year." She tapped the last line. "Prior dispute. Same payout routing. Do not release. Sloane stared at it, and for the first time all day, she looked smaller. Not sorry, just caught. The front doors opened behind us and 2 officers walked in. Normal uniforms, not dramatic. They spoke briefly with the receptionist, then came over. The manager didn't launch into a monologue. She handed them the stamped pages and said, "Suspected identity fraud, forged authorization, sale under compliance hold. We need a report." One officer looked at the papers, then at Sloane, then at me. "Who's the owner?" he asked. "I am," I said. And I'm current on payments. This was marked abandoned through the building portal." Nadia stepped in and kept it clean. "We have audit logs showing her email changed the resident file," she said, pointing. "We have lobby footage of her at the kiosk with our staff. We have the vendor file showing a forged signature." The officer turned to Sloane. "Ma'am," he said, calm. "What's your name?" "Sloane Harper," she said, too fast. "Do you have ID?" he asked. And she rolled her eyes like it was insulting, then handed it over. The officer checked it, handed it back, then asked the one question that made Sloane's throat tighten. "Did you sign your sister's name on any document to start this sale?" he asked. Sloane laughed, too loud. "Of course not," she said. "She's being dramatic. She disappeared. I didn't jump in with a speech. I just slid my phone across the counter, opened to my payment receipt for this month. Then I slid the email that said, 'Storage auction, sold.' Then the text she sent me. It's done. It's legal now." The officer looked at the text, then at Sloane. "Did you send that?" he asked. Sloane's eyes narrowed. "Yes, because it is." The officer didn't argue with her. He looked at the manager. "Do you have the document she submitted?" he asked. The manager opened a folder and pulled out the Abandonment Declaration, PDF printout. She pointed at the signature line. "This is the signature she used," she said. "The owner is saying it's forged." The officer's partner glanced at it, then at me. "Is that your signature?" she asked. "No," I said. "Mine doesn't look like that." Sloane scoffed. "She's lying." Nadia didn't raise her voice. "We have the kiosk footage," she said again and handed the still image over. The officer looked at it. Then he looked back at Sloane. "Ma'am," he said, "you're going to need to explain why you're on a lobby kiosk changing her contact information." Sloane's mouth opened, closed. Then she did the one thing people do when they realize the paper trail is real. She tried to leave. "I'm done here," she snapped, turning on her heel. Marcus stepped in, not aggressive, just blocking the lane like a door that doesn't move. "You're not leaving until they finish the report," he said calmly. Sloane's eyes flashed. "Get out of my way." The officer stepped closer. "Ma'am," he said, "stay right here." Sloane froze. Then she went cold, low, nasty. "You're all acting like she didn't deserve it," she hissed, looking straight at me. "She was never going to handle it. I just sped it up." And that line did something important. It killed the misunderstanding story. The officer's tone changed. "Okay," he said, and pulled out a small card. "Here's the incident number. We're taking this as identity fraud and theft by deception. Your phone may be needed as evidence." Sloane's head snapped up. "My phone? No." The officer didn't grab it. He didn't threaten. He just said, flat, "Don't delete anything." The manager leaned in and added, "And you are banned from our facility pending investigation." Sloane's face tightened. "Banned?" she repeated, like the word didn't belong to her. "Yes," the manager said. "We're banned." Then Dawn's email chimed on the manager's screen. She read it once and turned the monitor toward the officers. "Sale voided. Buyer refund initiated. Payout canceled." Sloane saw it and her mask slipped completely. "No," she snapped. "No, no." The manager didn't argue. "It's over," she said. "Nothing is leaving. No money is going out." Sloane's eyes went wild, and for a second I thought she might actually lunge for the folder. Instead, she blurted the one sentence she should have kept buried. "Fine. I already took what I needed before the auction anyway." The lobby went silent. Even the clerk stopped moving. I felt my blood run cold. "Took what?" I asked, voice quiet. Sloane stared at me, breathing fast, realizing too late what she'd admitted. The officer's partner stepped forward. "Ma'am," she said, "what did you take?" Sloane didn't answer. Marcus looked at Nadia. Nadia looked at the manager. And the manager, very calmly, opened another tab on her computer and said, "We have access logs for the unit." She clicked once. Then her face went still. "Someone accessed B17 yesterday," she said, eyes on the screen, "and the gate code used—" She looked up at Sloane. "Was entered under Liam's employee PIN." Nadia exhaled once, sharp. Marcus said quietly, "I'm calling Liam in." And the officer wrote something down, because now this wasn't only about an auction. It was about what Sloane removed before anyone could stop her. Sloane's face went tight and glossy at the same time, anger and panic fighting for the same space. The officer's partner held her gaze. "Ma'am," she said, "what did you take from the unit?" Sloane tried to laugh it off, but the sound came out jagged. "Nothing," she snapped. "She's making this a whole production." The manager didn't argue. She just turned her screen so the officers could see. A clean log entry, date, time, or code used. Access event, B-17. Yesterday, 4:18 p.m. Code used, employee PIN, L. Harper. The officer nodded once, like the situation had just stepped into a different lane. "Okay," he said. "Now we're talking about unauthorized access." Sloane lifted her chin like she could brute force her way through facts. "That code doesn't prove anything," she hissed. "He works here." Marcus, security, looked at the officer. "I can get Liam," he said. The officer nodded. "Do it." Marcus stepped away. And I felt the whole lobby turn into a waiting room for consequences. Sloane's eyes flicked toward the exit again, but she didn't move this time, because both officers were close enough that she knew running would make everything worse. The manager asked me one simple question. "Ma'am," she said, "what was in that unit that matters most?" I swallowed hard. "My family photos," I said. "Boxes of them, albums, and my grandmother's letters." Sloane's mouth twitched at the word letters, like it annoyed her. "It's just junk," she muttered, barely audible. Nadia turned toward her, voice flat. "You don't get to decide what's junk when it isn't yours." The officer's partner wrote something down. "Family photos and personal documents," she repeated. "Noted." A minute later, Marcus returned with a man who looked like he hadn't slept. Liam. He walked in and stopped short when he saw the officers. "Now, what's going on?" he asked, trying for casual and failing. The manager didn't soften it. "Liam," she said, "your employee PIN accessed Unit B17 yesterday at 4:18 p.m. Who used it?" Liam blinked rapidly. I don't know," he said. The officer stepped closer, calm. "Sir," he said, "we don't need a speech. We need an answer." Liam's eyes flicked to Sloane for half a second. That half second was everything. The officer saw it too. "You know her?" he asked. Liam swallowed. She's my cousin." Sloane's head snapped toward him. "Don't!" she hissed. But it was too late. The story had already started telling itself. The officer nodded slowly. "Okay," he said. "So your employee PIN is used to access a unit tied to an abandoned property claim filed by your cousin, who rerouted the owner's email and submitted a forged authorization." He paused. "That's not an accident." Liam's shoulders sagged. "She told me it was cleared," he blurted. "Or she said the owner was gone and the building approved it." Nadia's voice cut in, sharp. "The building didn't approve anything," she said. "She changed the file to make it look approved." The manager looked at Liam. "What did you take out of the unit?" she asked. Liam's mouth opened, then closed. Then he said quietly, "Boxes." My chest went tight. "What boxes?" I asked, voice low. Liam glanced at Sloane again like he was begging her to save him. Sloane didn't even look at him, though she stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. The officer's partner spoke, gentle but firm. "Sir," she said, "tell us where the items are. Right now, that's the only thing that helps you." Liam swallowed hard. "At her place," he admitted. "She said she needed to sort them." Nadia exhaled like she was trying not to explode. The officer nodded once. "All right," he said. "That's enough." He turned to Sloane. "Ma'am," he said, "you are being investigated for identity fraud, with theft by deception and unauthorized access to secured property." Sloane's eyes widened. "You can't prove," she started. The officer didn't raise his voice. "We have the building audit log," he said. "We have the kiosk footage. We have the vendor file. We have the access event. And we now have a witness stating items were removed to your residence." He paused. "That's proof." Sloane's face went pale at the edges. Then she went angry again, because that's her reflex. "Oh, she's dramatic," she snapped. She wasn't responding. "I handled it." The officer's reply was flat. "You handled it by pretending she was gone," he said. "That's not handling. That's theft." 2 weeks later. This is the part people always ask for, so I'll say it cleanly. What happened to my stuff? The police executed a recovery request. The boxes came back. Not all of them neatly, not all the way I left them, but my family photos and my grandmother's letters came back in my hands. The officer had me sign a property release form, and the storage manager documented the chain. What happened to the auction? The sale was voided, the buyer was refunded, and the payout was canceled. The vendor issued a written confirmation that the file was flagged for fraud and banned the consignor profile tied to Sloane and Liam. What happened to my sister? Sloane didn't walk away smiling. The case didn't fade out. She was served with a no trespass order for the building and the storage facility. The building restored my email, locked my portal, and added a verified contact requirement. And the detective assigned to the report called me with the case number and said the investigation was being forwarded for charging review based on the recorded evidence and witness statement. That's the official part. The practical part? She lost the one thing she thought she'd gain: control. Because after that, nobody in that building took her calls. No front desk favors, no family exception. Just put it in writing. And she couldn't. That night, I sat in my condo with my photos spread out on the table, hands shaking a little. Not from fear, from the crash after weeks of tension. Nadia called to check on me. "You okay?" she asked. "As okay as you can be," I said. Then I looked at the one receipt that started it all, the storage payment from this month, and I laughed once, quiet and tired. I wasn't dead. I wasn't missing. I was paying. My sister just hoped nobody would bother to check, but people did, and that changed everything.